here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
I want to talk about news, don't want the drama. From no pretentious media Madonna. I found me a great ganja mama. Cannabis and coffee with Tamarijuana.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuana. I'm having some issues this morning because half my background's not here. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on in the background with the production of my stuff, but apparently it's missing. And I'm just asking now, like, what the heck's going on here? Because I don't see my banners. I don't see my backgrounds. There we go. I guess it's been moved. And anyways, we're back to it. Okay, good. All right, we're good. All right. So this morning, I'd like to say good morning, of course, again. I guess we're going to talk about legalization. I don't have a guest today. I didn't book a guest today because my husband is having surgery and I wasn't sure I was going to actually make it on today, but I'm here. So that's one good thing. My hair is a freaking mess, but other than that, I don't really give a shit. As usual, you know, I don't really care what I look like most times. I probably should because, you know, we're on all kinds of different platforms and, you know, but I go on TikTok looking like this too because I'm not here to impress by my looks. Like, I'm here to talk about education, cannabis education, and legalization, and all the things that go hand in hand with that. I don't give a shit what I look like. You know, like what I look like. But anyways, so Al and I have been going over and reviewing the new reforms that are coming forward from the Cannabis Act. They did a review or a consultation review on that after 5 years, and they're going to probably keep doing that every 5 years. That being said, we've been kind of going through it page by page because there's a lot to go through. There's a lot of meat there. What overall has come out of what we've gone through so far, and I'm not going to repeat on this show what we're doing on the Pace Radio show because we're probably going to continue reviewing it this Wednesday. So I don't want to add that to this show, but I would like to go over what we've gone over so far, which is some of the benefits. And I know a lot of you are about it, and I know that you don't like the big license productions and the big money that goes along with it. I don't either. I don't like the fact that it costs millions of dollars to get into the industry. But I guess if you're brewing beer or you're brewing anything like that too, it costs millions of dollars to get into that industry. So, you know, we shouldn't have been shocked that that's what was happening, right? We shouldn't have been shocked by that. But I kind of was, because I kind of thought that the microcrafting here, I'm going to move myself in a little bit so I'm a little more comfortable. The microcrafting would not be as expensive, not as big as an investment. But when you come down to it, when you're building a new facility for whatever size of growing that you're doing, it takes money. In fact, to the point now that the government is looking at taking away the 4 access to designated growing. They want to take it back down to 1 because of diversion. Now, I'm calling bullshit on that because I know a lot of designated growers that just closed up shop. Most of them are doing it so that they could divert into the other dispensaries, which would make it so that that person they were growing for, their medication was free. They weren't charging their patients for their licensing medication prescription per day. Some were doing it for $1 a gram, which is pretty reasonable as well. But I also know several people who got ripped off. I know several people that had their whole grows ripped off, including me, handing my license to a woman that lived on Vancouver Island that then took all my fucking medicine and sold it in caps to another fucking entity. And she'll call bullshit and she'll say, oh, your license wasn't legal. It wasn't, it was, we had renewals done. And then she still lied and said that we didn't do any of the stuff that we were supposed to do. And let's be fair, she might have sent me some things. I'm not going to say she didn't send me anything, but she did not send me anything from that grow. She sent me stuff prior to that was supposed to hold me over till and then take back what she, to kind of balance it out. But what my licensing was for, mine and my husband's licensing for, is 200 plants. Okay? That's 15 grams a day for me and 20 grams a day for him. That's 35 grams a day. That's an ounce and a half a day. We never saw any of that. We might have, I think we saw 1 pound, and then she expected payment for it. So I thought after that, I'm never doing that again. So, but we did. We then handed it over to another guy for a production site so he could grow and blah, blah, blah. I got fucked out of that too. That fucking guy brought me 1 pound of fucking shitty fucking pot with seeds in it. And then I never saw him again. After getting him a pallet full of fucking nutrients from Remo's Nutrients so he could grow our medicine in the proper way that we wanted it done, and he fucked us too. Hence why I don't have a license anymore, because I refuse to give my licensing to somebody else so they can fucking rip me off. Right? And I don't have the power or the space here to do it myself, because we did this before. When we had our farm in Coronation, we grew our 200 plants ourselves. I had 3 stages. I had a clone room, I had a veg room, and I had a fucking grow, or a flower room. I sure did. And it was an all-day fucking job. It was a lot of work, especially with a fucking 18-month-old baby in the house. And a husband that couldn't go up and down stairs because he had blown out his fucking knee. So that whole thing was left to me. And I did that. And I'll tell you now, after doing 200 plant grow for fucking 3 years, I never want to do that again. I don't mind growing for no pressure, no stress, worry about a few bugs, blah, 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 because it's outside. But I'm telling you, that 200 plant grow was a fucking nightmare. Would I do it again? No, I wouldn't. And you want to know why? Because it was a lot of fucking work and absolutely no appreciation. Because I would give it away. It's bake and I'd send it away and whatever. But I'll tell you, when I was in a fucking pinch, not one of them fucking ever reciprocated back. So this community is great in some aspects. I have some really great people in this community. And then we have some real fuck people in this universe, in this fucking community that fucking rip patients off on a regular. In fact, I heard from another one a couple days ago on TikTok. He'd been missing off Facebook for a really long time. He was pretty involved in the community back 10 years ago when I was involved. Then I found out he'd been ripped off twice by somebody that we held pretty high authority for in our community. Now has since passed on. But that guy who passed on ripped this other patient off twice. So here we are thinking, oh, cannabis people are so great. Some of them really are, and some of them really suck. Just saying. Oh, and I think the one that ripped me off is out in Nova Scotia somewhere, trying to peddle her bullshit out there too. And she's also an anti-everything. So this one's for you, bitch. Not kidding. Not kidding. Anyways, so again, with legalization being what it is, and we're 5 years in, the report basically has shown so far that we've gone through that crime rates for possession are down 95%. Last year it was 70%. A couple years ago we were looking at statistics, it was at 70%. 70 is good. 95 is fucking fabulous. So that basically means that nobody's getting charged, or very few people are being charged for possession of this. And I got 2 possession charges, and I'll tell you, both of them are for under 7 grams of cannabis, right? And a trafficking charge for mailing out 4 grams. 4 that is legally now able to send out 30 in the mail, right? There are stores popping up everywhere for things that we were doing 35 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, for that matter. So basically, I won't say the black market's dried up, because it hasn't. And it definitely won't until they raise the milligrams on edibles above 10 grams per package. And they don't plan on doing that, apparently. Apparently, they're finding that the high level of edibles is causing some younger people to have issues. So they're not willing to up that 10 milligrams per package yet. And they want to keep a cap on the high THCs. They're not liking the fact that people enjoy THC at a high level because it helps just focus, and it might help your pain, and it might make you go to sleep a little easier, or maybe it helps stimulate your appetite. Because we sold them on the pipe dream of CBD. Not gonna lie, we told them CBD, 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 it doesn't get you high. Let's make it legal, CBD, hemp, blah, blah, blah. We fed them all this bullshit. We sure did. CBD is a fucking hoax, folks. I guess it works for some people. I find absolutely no efficiency in it at all. It's like taking a carrot and ripping it all apart and taking all the carotene, and then you're left with the middle. Doesn't taste good either, and it doesn't effectively help you in all ways that a carrot does. Same thing with cannabis. You can't rip that plant apart, rip down the CBDs and the CBNs and distillates and all this shit and expect it to be effective as medicine it is in a full plant matter form. Now, I know the whole thing about smoking it and, the carcinogenics and all that. It's less harmful than tobacco. And I find edibles make it so that I'm asleep. So I don't find them effective enough for me to be able to take the balance of what I need to control and actually not fall asleep with edibles. Because 10 milligrams ain't enough. 30 milligrams is about effective, but if I go any higher than about 50, I'm in bed. And I've had friends that have eaten a 10 milligram edible and slept for 14 hours. I don't know how the fuck they did that, but okay. Eat one of my candies, which are usually anywhere between 100 and 1,000 milligrams each. I don't do that much anymore either. Market for, my candies is legalization. I'm retired. I used to be a compassion club and a bakery. I sure was. And then I decided with legalization, there was no money left in it. I couldn't get the availability. The cost of, the cannabis was still up at, $1,500, $1,600 a pound. You could still buy it in the store for less than $200 an ounce. And the variety, right? Like I could not keep up with the varieties of, and the availability of several different strains. I mean, we're talking hundreds of different strains in the stores. I just couldn't keep up. So I now work in a grocery store. Well, it's a convenience store, kind of whatever. But anyways, but I still educate people, and that's the whole point of it. The whole point of us actually was, becoming and sharing our stories so that we can help other people across the country to educate them on what the benefits are and to see that it wasn't the devil's lettuce anymore. Because so much propaganda had been, spewed out from the 1920s all the way through, the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, all the way through. Devil's lettuce, it causes white women to sleep with black men, blah, blah, reefer madness. Craziness is what they did. Now, when you're talking about fentanyl and heroin, okay, I'll give you that. It does fuck your life up. And some people can't handle cannabis either. It's an individual thing. I will say that. But the people that I know that smoke cannabis are the most motivated, hardworking, dedicated, kindest people. Well, some of them are rip-off artists, but I don't classify them as friends. But again, most of them, I would say 90% of people that use cannabis are pretty good folks. They work, they pay their taxes, they go to, they have kids, they have pets, they do their thing, right? And very few of them drink, which I think is an absolute bonus because alcohol is probably the worst drug available to man besides religion. Did I say that out loud? I did. Anyways, yeah, now I've lost my later. But again, that was one point that was where it was really thrilling to me was a 95% in crime rates, possession crime. Because when I first got involved in cannabis legalization way back in 2007, it wasn't about medicine for me. I didn't find it that it was. I wasn't using it as a medical thing. I was using it because I like smoking weed. I've been smoking weed since I was 18, I think. Yeah, my ex-husband kind of got me involved in it because it was one of those you can't beat him, join him, because he wasn't going to quit. And I wasn't going to fight with him anymore. So I figured if you can't beat him, might as well join him. So I started smoking cannabis too. In fact, it was hash. my first experience after 18. I'd smoked a joint when I was younger, like 14 or 15 with friends and stuff. And yeah, it wasn't really a thing. Like we just, we did it just kind of like for a gas, right? Like, oh, let's see what this does to us. And ha ha ha. We'd sit around and laugh our faces off. And it wasn't like we were out looking for it on a regular basis, right? But when I turned 18, my ex-husband and now, was an avid chronic. He smoked hash mixed with tobacco. It was disgusting, but that's what my first kind of, was. And then it was weed. But when we moved to Calgary, all you could get was $40 for a 3.5 grams of, there's the branch, cut it off, throw it in a bag, and off you go. It was that fresh. Like, I mean, they chopped it off the branch and put it in a bag and sent it off. There was no drying, there was no curing, there was no nothing. So you cut it all up into little pieces and you put it in a fucking dish and you put it on the top of your plate and hope to God it would dry by morning so you could smoke it. And then of course, because it wasn't cured or dried properly, it didn't taste great and you didn't get high. Those were the days. And then Lethbridge, where I spent most of my time growing up and having my kids and blah blah. We got the nicest weed out there. Eventually it was like cushes and skunk weeds and all kinds of really, really nice cannabis. Got spoiled completely. Never had a fucking bad bag well, I wouldn't say not a bad bag, but it was very rare that you'd find a bad bag. And there was several different people with different options and it was all coming in great. And then I moved back to BC 10 years ago. Figured I was in the East Kootenay. Nelson's only 3 hours away. Kelowna's right there. We should have some killer here. Chronic, right? Yeah, wrong. Seedy, fluffy, crappy, outdoor, greenhouse, whatever you want to fucking call it, growing in a fucking ditch in Creston. Fuck, seriously. Some of the cannabis that I got when I was first moved out here was so horrible. I couldn't even believe it. To the point that I was actually begging my friends in Lethbridge to mail me some. This was before legalization. It was that bad. So I was kind of elated when legalization and the stores started opening because then I could go in and possibly find a decent bag of cannabis that wasn't full of seeds and mold. You know how many bags of moldy fucking crap I bought online? Or get them, and they're short by 5 grams on an ounce. After you sent your money away to some place out in, the coast to order your cannabis from, and you get it and it's crap. Because you can't see that either. You go on a website and the pictures are all looking great, but you ain't smelling it and you ain't looking at it and it ain't really in front of you. So I've been ripped off so many fucking times. It's a wonder that I even do this anymore. How many times I've been ripped off by some dealer that has said he had the chronic that was crap. And the mold. That was one thing that really would get me. And it would taste like dirty basement. And I'd go, oh, it's organic. Yeah, we grew it in worm caskets. It's fucking moldy, you dolt. But of course, when you're dealing with some unsavory people, you don't complain, right? Just saying. Because some of the people that I used to deal with, pretty unsavory. And that's a hard pill to swallow now because another thing was really hard is realizing that the only reason why anybody ever came to visit or see you is because you were selling weed. All my friends that I thought were my friends, as soon as I retired and quit selling cannabis, nobody called, wrote, or bothered. Not kidding. Well, I wouldn't say not everybody, because I do have a couple friends that do actually like me. Why, I don't know, but they do. But yeah, again, just dried up like a fucking popcorn fart. Just gone. Nobody called, wrote, or bothered. My bank account went from being like this to because I was a compassion. And I help people get their paperwork signed. But out here, people didn't understand that the doctors wanted money. So when I set the clinic up, I was making fuck all. Zero zip. We had a $25 admin fee for paper, and that was like not to even everyone. And a lot of times that $25 would go into a slush fund in Belleville for a patient that didn't have enough money to pay for. So if we had extra, we pay for it for them. That's what that $25 admin fee for is for us. Little paper, little ink for our computer, paperwork, just to cover the paper and the ink, basically. The postage for your fucking mailing, and to help another patient that might not be able to afford it actually get a licensing. Because the doctors are still charging $25 a gram, even though illegally they're not supposed to be. Because the doctor's not supposed to charge for a prescription. Again, in this new review as well, they're looking at adding funding to doing the actual treatment and research and all the stuff that they need to do to get this stuff RX'd. But here's the sad side about that. It's going to end up in the fucking pharmacies. Like I said 10 years ago, you put an RX label on this stuff and you're not going to like the outcome of it. Just saying. You want the research done. You want all the little things that go along with the RX label, deeming it that it's medicine. That Health Canada actually deems this as medicine. You're going to actually have to go to a doctor, and you're going to actually have to go to a pharmacy. And then likely you're going to have to wait for your prescription in the mail. So there are some ups and downs to this review. And of course, these are all recommendations, right? These aren't, written in stone. This is what the government's going to do. This is what they have to do. It's not a court order like our other ones. This is a recommendation from a consultation. And another thing that really bothered me about this whole consultation, as we banged on about it and shared links and begged you all to go and, fill out this survey, right? There's 45,000 patients in Canada. 45,000 registered licenses in Canada. And 600 of you fucking did the survey. Pardon? Y'all want this done so bad, and y'all want your rights, and y'all want this, and y'all want that, but you can't even fill out a fucking survey. Pardon? And that's where I'm at with it. Y'all want your rights. Y'all want the right for medical cannabis. Y'all want to do all these things, but you can't even fill out a fucking survey. How many of you have ever checked to see about your privacy breach and where that lawsuit is sitting? It's been over 14 years almost since that privacy breach. 14 years ago. Have we got a dime out of that? Have we seen or heard anything more? No, I didn't think so. So again, you have to ask yourself, why are we doing this? We got cannabis legalization, we got access, we got all these things, but you can't even help your fucking selves. Can't even fill out a survey to put any effort forward to actually make things better, right? You're probably standing on the side of the highway right now, fucking honking your horn about carbon tax. Again, another thing that I've, brought up 100,000 times. Where's the cannabis tax money going? Well, we find out that it's going to law reform, or law enforcement, not even law reform, law enforcement to enforce, the illegal dispensaries and to go to cannabis recovery for addiction. There's not even enough recovery and addiction places for fucking people with real addiction. I don't see them building recovery houses and recovery treatment centers with the cannabis taxation. It's not happening because we're screaming for it in British Columbia. We're screaming for it across the country that we do not have enough treatment programs for the people that have addiction disease. And it's a disease, right? We don't have that. But the provinces are raking in 75% of that cannabis taxation. And if you're in British Columbia, the PST is going to you too. So the taxation that is charged to the grower, the taxation that goes on the excise taxes and duty, and then the PST and GST. Oh, and a 20% vape tax in British Columbia. So 27% is going to the British Columbia government. Okay, there, Mike Farnsworth. Where's the fucking money? And I do this on TikTok a lot, but TikTok's, really keeping you kind of stifled and censored when it comes to cannabis. They don't like any illegal substances. And because it's legal in Canada doesn't mean that it's necessarily legal, especially in China, if they're the ones that are fucking pulling our strings on that fucking app. They're not allowing much of it. In fact, I did this morning, it's probably already been taken down because I said the word cannabis. And we all know that it's legal federally up here. Not federally in the US, but I've heard murmurings from Kamala Harris that they are looking at federally legalizing cannabis. But right now I think abortion's more on the plate than cannabis, to be fair. I mean, cannabis is important, and a lot of states have it for medical. But there's a lot of, stipulations and tribulations with that too. Some of them can't have raw flower. Some of them can only have tinctures. Some of them don't have access. There's nowhere to get it. They can't grow their own. Like, there's so many barriers over something that could be so fucking simple. Simple. In fact, Germany just legalized it over there, and I think they've made it a little more simple than anybody else, right? I just don't understand the complications in it all. Because if it was something that was, you've seen people zombied on the street, all puffing away, making it a problem, impaired driving had gone up, access, kids were fucking lined up and fucking all laying out in the schoolyard smoking weed, I'd see a problem. That's not happened, and it's not going to happen. Our children are fucking smart. This generation that's coming up, my 14-year-old boy, he's in tune. He knows what's going on in the world. And it scares the living fuck out of both of us. Probably one of the regrets I have right now is that I had a baby at 40. If I would have known at 40 what is going on now, if I would have known that, I would have not had that kid. I would not have. Poor kid. Even my older ones that are in their 30s that aren't having babies because they don't want to subject children to this shit show. That's a fucking hard pill to swallow, that I will never be a grandma. Well, technically I am. My husband has 3 grandchildren that we've never seen, but yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow that our world is so shitty that our kids don't want to have kids. Right? Yeah, that's pretty fucking bad. That's how I feel. Okay, well, I guess it's that time to thank our lovely sponsors, who I really love, and I hope that you guys are watching today. Pierre and Margaret, if you're out there. And they have a beautiful hydroponic store in Kingston, Ontario. And I'm going to run my commercials and thank our lovely sponsors, as well as Legacy 420 and the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. And I'll be right back with some more ranting and raving, because today it seems like it's a ranty, ravey kind of a day. Right back.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And I'm back. Yeah, Limestone has got some really cool things. I've been kind of scoping their website. See, I'm in British Columbia, right? But they're out in Kingston, Ontario, but they got Al growing microgreens. And that's another thing, because we had Cheryl on the show a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, I guess now, talking about cannabis microgreens, right? So again, it was Haley's birthday last week. She turned 31. The milestones. She was out in public. She was singing karaoke. There was a time when that kid couldn't get on a bus. I mean, she's not a kid anymore. She's a beautiful young woman. But she couldn't get on a bus without her eyes being covered and headphones on. The rain hitting the tin roof would put her into a seizure. This diet and Cheryl and the microgreens, like, she's just doing so amazing, and that just makes me feel so. Just watching her grow up, it's been amazing. And there's a few other. Liam just turned 16 as well. Another, child that uses cannabis because it helps, right? Sophie is, using as well, using cannabis CBDs for her. Nick and Kaylee Jones out in Nova Scotia with Sophie. And they're always looking for help too, for donations, all of them. Well, not so much the McKnights, they're pretty well, I think, okay. But when it comes to the Joneses, they're always in need of help. They're a one-income family because somebody has to take care of the kids at home. So it goes back and forth where, only one parent can work. And that makes it pretty difficult for them to, make ends meet and pay for her meds. And she is getting them legally through one of the licensed producers. But again, they're licensed producers. They don't really, at first, when they were going to be under the MMPR, okay, let's be truthful here. At one point, when this whole shit show got started, thanks to Stephen Harper's government wanting to take away our fucking rights to grow our own medicine, and the MMPR came into effect, the licensed producers were actually, we kind of thought maybe they'd do some research for medical benefits, and they, there was compassion. There might have been a route for compassionate pricing. But after legalization happened, after all that, we won the right to grow back after the Allard case and the Allard ruling. They had to do something with these production sites because people could now grow. And there were still people that were going to be able to and want to use these licensed production sites. But $10 a gram. In fact, last time I went and got my licensing done through Cannabis 420 or whatever, Namaste or whatever it was on my phone app, they would only my prescription was 20 grams. They lowered me to 15 because of affordability. And I'm like, are you in my bank account? Do you know how much money I make? So this nurse practitioner lowered my prescription from 20 grams down to 15. My husband wouldn't even bother. He said, fuck it. And we did that because, and they wouldn't, and it wasn't for a grow. This was specifically to just be able to get it. And back then they had the Canamart thing, so you could order from several different. They probably still do Canamart, where you could order from several different providers. I was kind of stuck with Broken Coast or Peace Naturals because I felt that they were smaller grows, small batch, that it would be better. It was still $10 and $12 a gram. So I was still paying $2.20, $2.40 for an ounce of cannabis, right? And the affordability, and then it takes 2 days to get it. So you have to plan ahead. Make sure you have enough cannabis to make sure that you're going to get through those 2 days after you. And usually I could only buy once a month or twice a month when we got paid, right? So it was a pain in the ass, and it was a pain in the ass. I'm just going to leave it there. It was a pain in the ass, and it wasn't. And again, you were hit and miss. Was it going to be good? Was it going to be effective? There was no refunds. There's still no refunds. Like if you open a bag from the legal market at a store and take it home and you smoke it, you don't like it, they don't take it back. There's no refund, no returnable on any of it. Because I've opened a couple, pre-rolls that I bought, and they tasted like pencil shavings, and I would have liked to have shoved them down somebody's throat. Right? Like you spend $20 on a joint, one joint, and you get it home and it tastes like pencil shavings. That's kind of like the last, fillet of fish I had at McDonald's was the worst ever. I will never go to McDonald's again. Send me a great fillet of fish. I will eat them till I'm dead. Send me one crappy one, I'm never going back. Not kidding. So, like, you get one bag of bad cannabis from one provider, you're probably likely not going to try it again. So there have been some that have disappeared. I think Aurora's gone. Tweed's still out there, but they're also not just growing their own anymore. They can get a marketing and distribution licensing. So they can go and lick up all these smaller producers. Well, the producers are still growing it, the small ones. They go and they lick it all up, and they label it for themselves, and they put it on the market. And then they make those growers wait to be paid. So back to the whole thing with the farmers and the carbon tax and all the shit with the industry. The fact of the matter is the grocery stores set the pricing on what they will pay the farmer for their crop. Kind of like in the cannabis industry, the LBDs are telling the growers what they will pay for their pounds. They're not given a choice about, hey, I want $2,000 for this. They're told they're getting paid $500. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They don't care. Commodity, right? It's a commodity, like a bushel, like a pound. Pound of tomatoes are $2. How do you like me now? Regulations. And that's how it works. So, again, and then the farmers aren't getting paid. And let's be fair, it costs more than $500 to grow a pound of weed. Unless, of course, you've got a great big huge facility and you're growing thousands and thousands of plants, and then it's probably only costing you $1 a gram. But again, that also depends on what you're using for power and your system and your nutrients, and you add the overhead for your trimmers and the cost of all your employees, sanitation. It's not a cheap endeavor. And like I said, when you're growing in your basement, like I was, and it's just, neat. You have no idea the difference. Well, maybe you do, but the difference is huge. Like when you see the guys with their beard covered and stuff, they don't want no cat hair. They wouldn't even let me in the place because I'm covered. My skin's probably got cat hair poking out of it and dog hair just because of the pets I've got. I would never even be hired to one of those places on the number of animals I live with. And I wouldn't want me in there either. Like, right? But that's why they make them wear that. It's sterilized. They're making like food product, right? Like you wouldn't want people who not like when I worked at McCain's Foods, like when we were making French fries for the commercial industry, we were classed down from head to toe. Nets, gloves. We still had to do like hand washing before and after with our gloves on and off. Hands washed in the gloves and then hands washed after you have the gloves on. Not kidding you. When you're producing that kind of product for the public market, public health and safety again, folks, which is unbelievable. You don't want regulations on a mask, but would you like me not making your French fries without gloves, with my hair hanging out all over it? Maybe where I'm, picking my nose and would you like that in your food or in your cannabis? Just saying. So again, restrictions, regulations, why it's so strict. So back to the report, because I'm attention deficit. I'm actually doing pretty good keeping on track, considering. Um, the 95%, for not and, and access. Again, there are still places that have opted out of legalization and having stores in their municipalities. Okay. But any municipality like mine, population 20,000, I believe we have 10 stores, 10 or 12 stores. I'd have to go back and count. But there's lots. Like there's one pretty much, I think one actually shut down. It was told not too long ago that the cabin had closed its doors looking for either for a new location or they couldn't keep staff. And it's really tough because I'm sorry, but you're paying minimum wage. The BC liquor stores, I believe, are unionized. So why aren't maybe the BC cannabis store is unionized and maybe they do pay their staff a little better, but all these private little businesses that bought up these stores or have these stores are paying and in BC minimum wage is $16.85, which isn't bad. But in Alberta it's $15 an hour. 15.25. I don't even know what the minimum wage is, but you're paying these people minimum wage. And let's be fair, it's a high risk business. You're selling cannabis. It's a high risk. As far as I'm concerned, it's like working in a liquor store. It's a high risk. Working in any convenience store these days is a high risk of being robbed, shot, and fucking killed for money. And you're paying these people minimum fucking wage. Just saying. Cannabis is a commodity. People will, in fact, I know the one store here has been ripped off. Nobody was hurt, thankfully. But what if somebody, you know what I mean? And you're paying these people minimum wage. And I get the fact that the government's not paying the farmers, and I get it that there's, you got to pay, but your store is still paying up front for all that cannabis when it gets in the door. And yes, you got to sell it to recoup your cash. That's business, right? You kind of knew that when you got started. But you're still paying your staff minimum wage. So again, I don't know. Like I said, my morning rants are all over the place today, but it kind of goes back to the fact that cannabis is, accessible, which is what we wanted. For patients, because again, with the edibles. But if you're looking at the cannabis that I just bought, I think it was 30% THC, 26, something like that. So the THC levels are high. They've got all the terpenes and stuff now on the packaging. I always throw my packaging out because I don't know. I never keep it around. And I buy the tips. So these tips here too, 20% vape tax on them. But this one is actually Fido, which I didn't realize. And Fido was an illegal brand at one point in time. They fucking were. It's actually funny to see how many of the illegal have gone into legal, and how many of them that were standing with us side by side wanting law reform and patients' rights and got medical licensing to become a legal producer. What do you think of that, folks? It's all good when you got a rich daddy. Fuck. Like I said, it's corrupt. Corruption up to your fucking eyeballs. In every system, no matter what one it is. Because the people that go to get it started are walked right over top of for the fucking almighty dollar. people that use cannabis as medicine. There are some of them out there that are living on disability. They got ripped off by their designated grower that's now a licensed producer. Oops, did I say that out loud too? I sure did. So you rip patients off to get where you are, and now you're making billions of dollars. Oh, you're not. Oh, again, careful for who and what you wish for. Just saying. Now, with the recommendations again, they have suggested that the federal government input funding to do research on the medical therapeutic benefits of cannabis as to whether there are or are not any benefits or harms to cannabis, because none of that's been done. They test for THC levels. They test for CBD levels. They test whatever for, to give you the terpene percentages. Other than that, they are not doing any other testing, any other research. Now, there is research being done by universities, but that's not government. And we had a doctor on the page show the other night that's doing a survey and doing a study at the Conley University in Ontario. And there is one being done at McGill, and there is one being done, at McGill in Montreal, right? Or was. Now you can Google all this stuff because, Google is free. Remember that. Most of our information you can get off the Canada.ca website as well, Alpha Health Canada's page to be exact. And if you want any more propaganda, I can't help you. We had IDF Soldier on our show not too long ago too, so telling us that all the studies out of Israel are bullshit. It might have been one guy that might have written one paper, and you take it all as gospel. And we cited all that fucking shit. We did. We fucking ran it off the tips of our tongues like we fucking knew what we were talking about because we had seen it on the internet. But not one of us ever fucking got in touch with anybody over there to find out if it was actual truth. Now, Dr. Ethan Russo, I will give fucking all the fucking credit to, and Dr. Paul Hornsby, rest in peace, because they walk the walk. And any information that they would give you would be absolutely the way it is. Because Dr. Paul Hornsby was an amazing man. I've met Dr. Paul Hornsby on several occasions. I can actually speak from personal experience with him. He was amazing. I've never met Dr. Ethan Russo. He's an American, and I can't cross the border. Anyway, so that's that. But these are two probably most accredited cannabis doctors. And of course, Dr. Yan as well, but he's since as well passed away. We've lost a lot of people since I started this plight in 2007. Like, how many years is that? 20 something? I don't know. Seems like I've been doing this for a really long time. And I get tired and I don't want to do it anymore. And then I look at the fucking statistics and I look at the things and go, I can't stop. My husband tells me not to watch the news and I can't stop. I don't know. Anyways, British Columbia is having an election. And I'd like to make cannabis also forefront. I got a survey from the NDP yesterday in my inbox asking me what I'd like to see, and I said, where's the cannabis tax? And asked for some information on that. Like, what are you doing with the cannabis tax? Why is it going to law enforcement? Why don't you use the cannabis tax for your climate proposals or healthcare? Because we're all screaming we don't have enough doctors, right? Nobody's got doctors. Nobody's got any healthcare. Our schools are falling apart. Cranbrook needs a new high school so bad. My mother graduated from it in 1964. And it's the same one. There's one. It was built in 1929. Yeah. So those are the questions. And why is not cannabis funding going to building new schools and new infrastructure? And why should our hospital not have cancer treatments available here in a region that can, basically covers 100,000 people? They have to go to Kelowna. Like, so why is the cannabis taxation going? And like I said, it's going into treatment and recovery. Why don't we have 6 new treatment centers built? right? If the cannabis money is going into cannabis addiction and recovery, then why don't we have new treatment centers built? For anything, for any of them. I don't care what your addiction you've got. If the money's supposed to be going to, these things, where is it? So again, we have an election in British Columbia. We have like several parties, the United BC, fuck NDP, the Conservatives are rearing their ugly head. Oh, fuck. Like, cracks the tax, another one. We've got one already. Now we get two. Two parties in this fucking province. Because the BC Liberal that changed their name to the United Party, United BC, so they can, line up with, UP next door. Yeah, now the PCs, the right progressive conservatives, have a candidate. Like, seriously. Like, fucking seriously. And you guys are all worried about acts and taxes, and I want to know where the fucking tax money that you're getting from me already is going. Why don't you ask them that? Because at least with carbon tax, you're getting a fucking rebate. I ain't getting no fucking rebate for a 20% vape tax. It's going to law enforcement to enforce me. To do what? When they got statistics that say that possession charges and law crime rates for cannabis are down 95%. But you need the cannabis taxation to be going to law enforcement. What? On that note, I've got about 8 minutes left of the show. We'll be live again on Wednesday night, reviewing, I think, the Cannabis Act again. Review. Yeah, so this legislative act, because I've got about 8 minutes here, so I'm just gonna bring up the website so you can go and look at it yourselves, right? So it's under the Government of Canada, on the Government of Canada website, right? And this is what you're looking for. If you want to go through and read this, this is what you need to read. Like I said, Al and I have been going over it, so I'm not going to go over anything because we're doing that on the Pay Show. But again, if you want to go and read it yourselves, this is where it is. It's on the Government of Canada website. You can actually Google Cannabis Review, and it comes right. It'll take you right to it. Because like I said, Google's free. Remember that, folks. And it's got all kinds of different insight. But again, I just want to, so it's got, like you can see, First Nations, Inuit, Chapter 8, Home Cultivations, Economic, Social, Environment. And it's got 13 chapters. And we're, I think, at number 2 or 3. I can't remember where Al and I are at right now. But the message from the panel, this was when they were appointed by the Ministry of Health and Mental Health and Addiction to do an independent expert panel to conduct legislative review of the Cannabis Act. So this is an independent review, okay, being done by an independent body. So this is one of the consultations that you'll hear about that probably cost billions of dollars for an independent fucking consultation to be done by the federal government. Fuck. And I'm sure we'll hear about that next. Anyways, this, it recognizes the act as supporting policy framework. However, it's important to note that the review began only after 4 years of experience with the regime. We acknowledge barriers exist for many groups that engage in the process and like this review, including like First Nations, Inuit, Métis, that were, agreed to participate and also share their perspective, patients as well. So the executive summary, and this is where I want to show you where it says that crime rates are down 95%. It's in here somewhere. Quickly. Here we go. As of June 30th, met with 500 individuals, 200 organizations, and nearly 90 meetings. But again, only 600 people fucking actually filled out that survey. Like, that's fucking bullshit, you guys. Impacts on young people? No, okay. I want to see where it says 94%. I got 4 minutes to find this. Home cultivation. No. Criminal activity here. Many public stakeholders concerned about conductive involvement in organized crime, blah, blah, blah. There is mixed views on legal industry progress and displacing the illegal market, with some claiming legal industry is competitive with the illicit market, and others argue the structural barriers exist that make it difficult for the legal industry to compete, and therefore many allow illicit markets. That's because they will not raise the level of the THC above 10 milligrams for edibles. Driving drug impairment is still a major concern, but it shouldn't be because I don't hear a lot about it. I don't think I've read this yet. Maybe I'll just go back. Again, we're reviewing this on Wednesday nights. We've been doing that for the last 2 shows. Actually, last week we took a hiatus. Neither one of us were feeling great. And I got Petal's Ashes back last Wednesday. So I think that's all I'd seen that I was, Anyway, I got Petal home. And on that note, we didn't have a show last week. And I didn't have a show last week. God, like I said, time just flies by and I never know what day it is half the time. But yeah, Wednesday we'll probably still be reviewing this, and we'll finish it up, in the next couple shows and get through it because there's a lot of meat here. Anyways, I thank you all for watching and following me and listening to my rant today, because I was pretty ranty today. I got, the stress levels. I don't have my watch on. It usually tells me you're stressed. But again, thanks for joining me. Hopefully next week I can con somebody into coming on. It's really hard to find guests. People are either in legalization and they're not allowed to advertise or talk about what they're doing, or they're in the illicit market and don't want to put their face out there, which I don't blame them. And or patients that are working because they can because of cannabis, or living their life because they can because of cannabis. Again, there's so many benefits to cannabis, even if it just makes you feel good, right? At least you're not taking Valium. And, for you that have to take pharmaceuticals too, like myself, I'm not going to sit here and bash anybody who has to take pharmaceuticals, because sometimes there's just not enough cannabis to help, and or strain, or the combination of what that can suppress the immune system as much as mine needs to be suppressed. So unfortunately, some of us do have to take pharmaceuticals as well, but benefits that go along with that, and the use of my therapeutic, which helps my nausea. Anyways, y'all have a good day. I will see you again next Monday, same time, same place, and I'll also see you Wednesday night with Al on the Pace Radio show. And thanks to all our sponsors. We really appreciate all of it. So y'all have a good week. We'll see you next week.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.